Honorable Court.
Good morning and welcome to the opening session of the Michigan Supreme Court for this new term of court. Before we begin with the oral argument schedule this morning, I would like to welcome Wallace Riley on behalf of the Michigan Supreme Court Historical Society.
Thank you, Madam Chief Justice. May it please this honorable court and Madam Chief Justice and the justices of the Michigan Supreme Court, other judges and attendants, members of the bar, our guests and ladies and gentlemen. We're assembled for the beginning of a momentous day in Michigan history. When this court adjourns after its first oral argument of this, the 2000-2003 term, the court will go in procession to the new Hall of Justice, there to dedicate and to open the building. This long-awaited occasion, the last regular session of the court in these chambers, took place on March 3, 1970. At that time, the court was about to move to the newly completed law building. That was also a historic day and a momentous occasion for the court. On that historic day, we recognized in formal session of the court on April 28, 1988, the dedication of a bronze marker commemorating the old Supreme Court chambers. These chambers were the home of 60 justices who served on the court from January 1, 1879, when the Capitol building was completed, until January 6, 1970, when the court moved its quarters to the law building. During that time, nearly 38,000 cases and almost 10,000 oral arguments were heard in this room. At the dedication of the bronze marker in 1988, Governor, then Senate Majority Leader John Engler, said, and I quote, "We hope that someday this building will be suitably restored so that this marker can appropriately and proudly be displayed, and that this room itself can be restored to the grandeur that made it acclaimed architecturally as the finest in the United States." Those words turned out to be prophetic. You can see the restoration that took place. And by the time Chief Justice Riley gave the State of the Judiciary message in the newly restored House chambers on April 26, 1990, the Capitol building restoration was well underway. In that message, the Chief Justice congratulated the legislature for the restoration of the Capitol building, and then added, and I quote, "And we hope that someday soon, with your help, the legislature, we shall be able to invite you to the dedication ceremonies of our new chambers in Michigan's first Hall of Justice." That likewise turned out to be prophetic. Ever since the restoration of the old Supreme Court chambers, the annual tradition has been that the court has graciously shared this annual opening with the Michigan Supreme Court Historical Society, giving us a brief ceremony to mark the occasion of the opening of court and to report to you on the Society's recent activities. However, what you do today at the new Hall of Justice is clearly center stage. So in deference to that event, I shall simply list the ongoing activities in which the Society is engaged. First and foremost, the gala this coming Saturday evening at the Hall of Justice. Portraits, as always, we're continuing to move and to paint. Oral histories of former Justices Boyle and Levin are underway. Our website is up and running and constantly being updated and improved. Publications are continuing in the form of the newsletter, Society Update, and we're distributing the reference guide and a brief history of the Michigan Supreme Court. Education pilot program, over 60 middle school and high schools. Teachers have a program which will closely tie in with the new Learning Center. And of course, last April at the annual luncheon, we presented the first Legal History Award to Governor Engler for his contributions to legal history. So here we are on October 8, 2002, 167 years after the Michigan Supreme Court was created by the 1835 Constitution. October 8, 2002, after 4 constitutional conventions, and after 103 justices of the then and now have served on this court. In a little over 2 hours, you will lead the march across the field of dreams to the new Michigan Hall of Justice. May the wind be at your back.
Thank you, Mr. Riley, for your fine remarks and for your report on behalf of the Historical Society. I'd like to take this opportunity to say how much our court appreciates all of your activities on its behalf. You and Chief Justice Riley were staunch advocates of the Hall of Justice, which we will dedicate later today. From the beginning, you said it was important for Michigan to have an appropriate setting and a permanent home for the courts. I know this would not have happened without your efforts and vision, and for that alone, you merit this court's profound thanks. But you have also served this court and contributed to the Michigan justice system in so many other ways. As president of the Michigan Supreme Court Historical Society, you have helped to preserve this court's heritage. In recalling our history, you also remind us of the impact of our court's decisions on the future. Indeed, it's due to your initiative that this chamber, in which we now hold oral arguments each term, at the beginning of each term, was rededicated and restored. You initiated what is now a tradition of this court to meet here for the first argument of the new session. You also have our court's gratitude for your years of service on the Attorney Discipline Board, most recently as its chair. While your term is over, and we don't begrudge you your well-deserved retirement, we want you to understand that you will be very difficult to replace. In fact, when we look at your long record of service to the public and the bar, including the presidencies of the American Bar Association and the State Bar of Michigan, we know that you are a very tough act to follow, Wallace Riley. Your tradition, your character, your personality, one of graciousness, intelligence, and dedication. Thank you again, Mr. Riley, for your work and for your sterling example to our profession. We will now hear the first case of the term of court, and I will call forward the attorneys. Dressel versus Ameribank. Case number 1. Counsel for the appellant.